just wanna play on the sidewalk with my friends.
Hey, it's MA. Name's Vich. All the plugins and resources mentioned in the video will be in the description just in case. If you want more rock stars to appear on the channel, let me know below, but otherwise like and subscribe. I'll pass it down.
Hey everyone, I'm 𝗲𝗄𝗲𝗲𝗄. I joined this server a couple weeks ago and there's so much cool stuff happening here. You guys all seem very excited and inquisitive. So yeah, really pumped to be here. Lyrics, what a big topic. Lyrics is all about being open emotionally with yourself. It's about being open to reading poetry. It's about learning from other lyricists and trying to figure out what they're doing. There's no rule with lyrics. We're talking about your story. A great exercise to get into writing lyrics is just keeping a journal, writing in the morning. You'll definitely find yourself writing more poetically if you make it a practice. Rhyme structures, let's take clouds for example. Sweet dreams, bad as it seems, I can ship my mind to a new location. Dreams seems is what I would call A. I can ship my mind to a new location. That'll be B. She speaks, it makes me weak. Every word drips out, no explanation. In that case, we have A, B, C, C, B. So the first two rhyme with each other, and then we have B. And then the next two rhyme with each other, and then we have B. This is kind of a fun rhyme scheme. Sometimes it's as simple as doing A, B, A, B. Every song has a story, even if it's not chronological. And then what you do is you use poetry, you use lyricism to get that story across in an interesting way. I'll start with an idea that's really simple. Let's say, I love this girl, she doesn't love me back. That's the most simple non-poetic thing. If it's something that you could say in a conversation, it's not worth writing lyrics about. So I can come up with other subplots to that. One of them could be, she's beautiful, she is dating someone else, right? Another one could be, I think about her all the time. I could just come up with this list of different things related to that central theme. What you're going to use is poetic devices to make this come alive. For example, metaphors. And a lot of pop songs have maybe a single metaphor that the entire song is built around. Toxic by Britney Spears. Every line in that song is about poison. It's about drugs. So finding a metaphor that kind of wraps everything up into one would be really great. In fact, I'll take a suggestion from the crowd. What should we do for this song? Death. Okay, we got death. I'll take a couple suggestions. Satan, sidewalks. Oh, we got sidewalks. I like this guy. Let's say we wanted to make it about sidewalks. Instead of, I think about her all the time, it could be, she's walking all over me, right? Something like that. I'm just trying to find ways to bring the concept of sidewalks into this. It's not the easiest thing, but that's the idea. You have a concept and you make a whole song that's sort of related to that, even though it's about this girl.
My mind is on a tightrope. Her love never lets me down.
Every vocal coach that I've worked with has had a different thing. I've tried to incorporate all of those different things. First thing, relaxation. That's the most important thing when you're singing. It turns out that most of us, our singing range is not as wide as it could be just because our diaphragm and our chest and everything is so tight that we're not able to get the note out. If you even just take a couple deep breaths before singing and really try to relax, even massage your face, you'll find yourself singing a lot smoother. I have one vocal coach that even swears by getting massages. He's like, you got to get a 2-hour Thai massage before you sing. That's the only way. So every so often now I get a nice massage before a show, feels great. Second thing I'll say, using your abdominal muscles to push out air. A lot of people use their chest to push out air when they're singing, but really sort of below your stomach. Those are the muscles that you're gonna use to really get a nice tone out. Third thing is resonating your face. Way to test this is while you're singing, you should put your hand on your lips lightly. If your lips are vibrating, that means you have good singing tone. If they're not, your tone is probably a little further back in your throat. So that's an example of bad tone. And then that's much better tone. I can feel my lips vibrating. When it comes to chords, I do not get complicated. I choose chords that are what is called diatonic, which means that they're in the scale. In Ableton, if you wanted to choose chords that are gonna work in your scale, in your key, you can always do this in Live 11. Go to scale, click D, and then do, let's say, D minor. If you guys are struggling to even just find what notes, what chords are gonna work, do this, and then boom. Now, how to build an actual chord. Usually I start with what's called a triad, and to build a triad, you choose one of these notes. In this case, I'm choosing D, which is the actual root, and then you skip one of the notes in the scale and then do the next one. This method works every time. Choose a note in the scale, skip one, do another, skip one, do another. This is a basic triad, nothing fancy about it. So now I'm gonna grab it and extend it. And then go down here. I'll fix this one. In this case, we're starting on B flat, skipping one, going to D, skipping one, going to F. I know that this chord works because all of the notes are green. Let's choose another one. Oh, this works. C, E, G. We're doing D minor, then we're going to B flat major, and then we're going to C, then back to D minor. This is usually where I start. I'll just do something as simple as humanly possible because from here, it's much easier to start changing things. For example, one of the things I really like to do is have the chords come in a little bit earlier than you expect. It's very common in house music, especially French house music, to think about like Daft Punk or Justice. Boom, boom. Each chord is anticipated. It's starting an eighth note before it actually should. Such a small change, but it already feels like it's moving a bit more. Another thing to consider is the actual rhythm of your chords. Right now, these are just kind of being held out for a really long time, but you can do all sorts of things to make the actual rhythm more interesting. For example, say each one is going to be an eighth note. Let's see if this sounds good. I don't love that. Why don't we make it a dotted eighth note? That means that it's going to be 3 16th notes. You guys should see 3 little boxes right here. This is a dotted eighth note. Let's hear what that sounds like. You guys have probably heard that rhythm a lot. What if it ended with this chord again to lead us back in? That is feeling a lot better. This is sort of the last tip when it comes to chords, is using extensions. And extensions are basically taking these boring triads and adding notes on top of them. I got these guys. What if I added another note here? Once again, there's no rules. You don't have to know music theory. I can do this note, I can do this note, and just kind of see what sounds good. So let's hear this. I'll do a dotted quarter note. What if this had the exact same rhythm as the first chord? I know I want a C, so I'm going to grab these guys. I'm going to add a couple other extra notes on top. At this point, I'd also probably use a synth that sounds more interesting. One thing you could do is just start playing around with some of these notes that are in the scale. This is one totally fine way to write a melody. It's not totally my favorite way. Just sing over your chord progression for a little while. When I say sing, you don't have to actually sing any words. We're just mumbling. We're just playing around with stuff. And then I'll find the notes on my keyboard. Okay, I'm feeling it. And then maybe I'll come up with a new idea just by writing it down. Record everything. You never know what'll come out. Even if you're just kind of hanging out, working on the track, ideas could come in and I really don't want to lose them. If you haven't checked out my new single, Sidewalk, check it out. So pumped it's out. It was one of the most fun productions to make. So today we're going to be focusing on the 808 and the lead in the drop.
Kenny brought the chalk and he's shaking the spray. Bobby blows bubblegum, ready to play. Sarah sticks her tongue out, she's got thumbs on her face. We never understood why Daddy loves television. La 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 la. Everybody's saying things that make a kid wanna cry. We just wanna be outside, yeah. You're so nice and so fine, yeah. Sit back, soak up the sunshine, yeah. Now I stay inside and watch the pixels on the screen. But when I close my eyes, I live in simple memories. I swear now, I can almost see the end. I just wanna play on the sidewalk with my friends.
Okay, so the drop there is not what you hear in the song. I'm going to turn everything off and show you what it sounds like without any of the effects.
Friends.
The very first thing is this, and this is just a chorus. That's not really doing much. The magic starts here. So the entire sound is basically an RC20. It's just distorted completely. There's no width on it. It's completely mono. So it's really the distortion going into this filter here. What are the 40 other plugins doing there? It sounds like we already got there. RC20 is doing most of it. EQ to get rid of the low end. We have another EQ here to get rid of the resonances in the high mids. Sample delay, I do this all the time just to push it back in time. OTT, just to make it stick out a little bit more. Saturn for some saturation. That's pulling up the high end and stuff. Right, a little bit of that. Another EQ, taking out low end. Valhalla Room, one of my favorites. So it sounds like it's in a real space. Believe it or not, RC20 again. Standard clip, I love this thing. It's just to make it clip off the tiny little transients at the top so you can make it louder. This is barely doing anything, if anything. Another EQ, after pulling out resonances, I'm now pushing it up again. I really wanted it to stick out and sound like it's really, really out there. This one is fun. This is just adding little moments of wobble. So you'll see without it. Tiny bit of reverb that's doing little reverb sends, doing some filtering for certain sections. This track has tempo changes through the song. So the verse is in 88 beats per minute and then the drop is in 86. Bouncing out stems was just a nightmare. So what I decided to do was mix the whole thing in the original project. Half of this chain is like my production chain and then the rest of it is my mix chain. At the very end, we have compression, side chaining from the kick. First using LFO tool. Every time the kick hits, it'll trigger the envelope. And then this compressor here. So that's the sound. Let's move on to the bass. I want to show you guys this guy. I actually had a couple people say like, oh, like the bass, it's so open, it's so fat. Like the 808 on the song really hits really hard. And the one thing that I can recommend, because I had a lot of trouble with this, is not over compressing your kicks in your 808s. When I mixed this song, the kick was just louder than everything else, and I didn't compress it. That's why the kick is so loud, because it literally is just louder. Leaving it open, giving it room to breathe, that's the best thing I can say as far as the 808 stuff. So the bass itself is a combination of 6 different samplers. The first one is this 808 sample. That's really taking care of the sub. The second one is the same 808 sample going through a distortion called Camel Crusher. It's free. It's one of my favorites. And then only the high end of it. This is a great way to add saturation to your 808s. It's just adding that fuzz to it. The next one is a 5th up. The rest of the stuff in the 808 is just noise. So this is like a white noise going through auto pan. And it just makes it sound like it's hitting a transistor too hard or something. And then we have an additional texture. This is vinyl. Just a little something. Last but not least, a serum patch that's just a sawtooth and it's just adding a little bit more distortion. So the whole bass together. So that's the bass. And then there's 2 main kicks going on. And that's just the really punchy, nice low kick going through a lot of clipping with K-clip, some transient designing. And then there's one called hip hop kick. And it's sort of like the wide kick on the top that's giving the 808 some width. Just feels like it's breaking your headphones a little bit. That's what I was going for. And together. Here is James Bond.
You say, let me take you back to Le Chateau Marmont. You can in my body, looks like you could use a shot in the arm.
The first guitar that comes in is this.
You say, let me take you back to Le Chateau Marmont.
What I'm doing is I'm putting it through what's called a rotator, which is an emulation of a Leslie cabinet. It's the speaker that's spinning around really, really fast and it creates this crazy wobbly pitch. So without the effect, it sounds like this. And with the effect, that'll really make it sound like it's wobbling in and out of pitch. And anytime you want that cool vintage kind of reverb, spring reverbs are the way to go. And this is for side chaining. So that's the first guitar. There's another one that happens on the left side. And this one doesn't have the effects live, but it's the same thing. Guitar rig, going through a spring reverb, super simple. This gets into the question about inspiration and genres. This was totally taken from the James Bond canon. I'm using chords that kind of sound like they were in James Bond. It gives the whole track that sort of spy vibe. Then we have this sort of funky guitar going on in the chorus. I modeled it after the Justice track, 𝗙𝗎𝗍. Super funky. I'm using a Telecaster, which is a little bit more mid-range, but still has the funk to it. So without it, we're getting a bunch of compression in the beginning. My favorite AU sample delay, which is pushing it back in time. Guitar rig, which has an old school jazz amp, spring reverb, a little bit of delay, and some more reverb on it. We have a compressor here to make it even more snappy and kind of in the mix. And as you see, it's barely doing anything. A bunch of EQ, another phaser, and the side chaining here. I'm using this as a Haas delay. What this is doing is basically pushing the guitar over to the right. I got people asking about the guitar at the end. And if you guys are wondering which one I'm talking about, it's all of these different pieces from the song bounced to audio and then thrown in their own group. That smashed up, chopped up group has a ton of compression and side chaining going on that makes it really bounce up and down. This was my favorite part to do. You get all those spicy, weird little things in the guitar, which is fun.
Raindrops and mountaintops couldn't stop us sinking in bad decisions.
𝗏𝗏 and I decided that Clouds would be the best one to show vocals for. The vocals aren't that weird on Clouds, but it's a little bit dirty. Quick preview, and then we'll talk about it.
Sweet dreams, bad as it seems, I can trip my mind to a new location. Heartbreak, made a mistake, we can fix this, good as new. She speaks, it makes me weak, every word drips out, no explanation. Lips shake, she made a mistake, now I don't know what to do. Loving you was easy till you got yourself thinking out loud. Well, now you got me with my head in the clouds.
Without any effects, sound like this.
Heartbreak, made a mistake, we can fix this, good as new.
They were recorded right here in this room with this microphone. I have a Shure KSM-44. Shure is not usually known for its condenser microphones, but they make this really awesome mic. I'll just kind of go through one by one on the effects. First plugin, auto-tune. For most of the song, it's on 234 retune speed. In this case, I am automating auto-tune to go faster for parts where my pitch was worse. I really like this take. I thought, okay, why don't I get it at 36 for this section? Because my take wasn't as good there. And then this part I was good, so I'll turn it down. You can do stuff like that. We have sample delay, which is pushing the vocal back. Notice how I use that on almost every track. Pro Q3 is just doing some low cutting and some resonance. I have a gate. The next thing is a guitar amp.
Sweet dreams, bad as it seems.
And here's the dry vocal.
Sweet dreams, bad as it seems.
Together.
Sweet dreams, bad as it seems.
Next, I have CLA vocals, and this is really giving it a lot of volume, a lot of energy. A soft tube plugin that's putting it through a tube emulation, a little bit of drive. RVox, great compressor. Another EQ, RC20. Once again, I'm getting a little bit of distortion and a little bit of filtering. De-esser, get rid of some S's. This EQ right here, I'm boosting 12K.
As it seems, I can trip my mind.
So it's got a little bit of that intense radio sound. Another de-esser. And then this reverb right here is being automated on and off depending on the song section.
God sent, he came and went, now we're out here on our own.
Another EQ, and then some side chaining. As you can see, this vocal's really affected. It's going through so many different amps and compressors and weird things. That's what you hear in Clouds. That's what I got. We did the 3 songs. Thank you, 𝗏𝗏. This has been awesome, and you guys have been such a great audience. Really happy to be a part of this.
With my head in the clouds.